Goofy, goofy.
Okay, wonderful. Good. Awesome. Madam Vice President, pleasure to meet you. Thanks for your time today.
Brian.
Our audience appreciates your time as well.
Of course.
At the debate the other night, you talked about creating an opportunity economy. I wonder if we can drill down on that a little bit.
Drill
Talk
down.
about bringing down prices and making life more affordable for people. What are one or two specific things you have in mind for that?
Specific.
Well, I'll start with this. I grew up a middle-class kid.
Nobody cares.
My mother raised my sister and me. She worked very hard.
Don't care.
She was able to finally save up enough money to buy our first house when I was a teenager.
Don't care.
I grew up in a community of hardworking people.
Nobody cares.
Construction workers. And
We all
nurses and teachers. And I try to explain to
This is
some
just
people
filler.
who have had the same experience. You know, but a lot of people will relate to this. You know, I grew up in a neighborhood of folks who
Filler.
are very proud of their lawn.
Nobody cares.
Yeah. And
Cotton candy. That's
and
what
I
this
was
is.
raised.
The interviewer asked her about her economic plan. She is doing an infomercial for True Green.
This is the same thing she did. This is the same thing she did on the debate. That was the first question, and this is the same story that she gave in the debate.
Ugh.
Raised to believe and to know that all people deserve dignity.
Okay.
And that we as Americans have a beautiful character.
Oh,
You know, we
yeah.
have ambitions and aspirations and dreams, but
There
not
we go. There we go. I knew it.
access to the resources that can help them fuel those dreams and ambitions. So when I talk about building an opportunity economy, it is very much with the mind of investing in the ambitions and aspirations.
What
and
are
the
you going to
incredible work
do?
ethic of
Nothing.
and creating opportunity for people.
Filler. This is nothing
Opportunity.
but
Third
cotton
time.
candy. Cotton
My
candy.
mother, you know, worked long hours, and
know
our
this.
neighbor helped raise us. We used to call her, I still call her our second mother.
Nobody
She was
cares.
a small business owner. I love our small business owners. I learned who they are from my childhood.
You tried to
And
close
she
them down
was
during
a
the
community
pandemic.
leader. She hired locally. She mentored.
Who
Our small
cares?
businesses are so much a part of the fabric of our communities, not to mention, really, I think the backbone of America's economy.
Two
So my
minutes in.
opportunity economy plan includes
I mean, it's Lord have
giving
mercy.
startups a $50,000 tax deduction to start their small business. It used to be $5,000. Nobody can start a small business with $5,000. But
All of this.
People's innovative ideas and giving them the ability to go for it. Opportunity economy means
Oh,
look,
yeah, that's what we're talking about.
housing in America. We have a housing supply shortage. And what that means, in particular for so many younger Americans, the American dream is elusive. It's just actually not attainable. So part of my plan is to work with the private sector and housing developers to give them a tax credit, to be able to partner with us as the government to build, and my goal is 3 million new homes by the end of my first term. In
Section
addition,
8. Section 8.
to help people who just want to get their foot in the door, literally. And so giving first-time home buyers a $25,000 down payment assistance to be able to just get in the door.
Once
And how they
again,
supposed to maintain?
once again, she's giving our money away, hardworking Americans' money, and eventually she's going to increase taxes on this. This plan has been shut down and shut out by economists all across the board. The $25,000 tax credit for first-time home buyers and the 3 million homes built. First of all, she's lining the pockets of big developers and corporations.
Exactly.
This is not for the everyday worker or a middle class that's going to get any help here, most of the help. We're actually going to see a big burden by it, because what she's going to do is cause increased inflation. She's going to cause the price of houses to go up because there's no supply. Anybody in real estate 101, you go to 1 week of real estate class and they tell you this does not make any state. Real estate is state by state and shouldn't be controlled by the federal government or some federal mandate.
Exactly. Anytime, I don't understand why people don't understand. Anytime the government, as my grandmother would say, anytime the government supplies or funnels or feeds businesses or whatever with money, prices go up.
Yeah.
Prices go up. because those entities then begin to rely on, they don't have, just like colleges, financial aid, all the financial aid, prices have gone up, prices don't go down, right? I mean, this happens over and over again.
Stop on that. That is a very good point. So, what you're saying is a lot of this financial aid and things like that these students are getting to go to these colleges. We've seen that college has now increased. It's like exponentially.
Exactly.
The cost of college has gone up. So all the aid that they're getting, it's not really helping because the cost.
You can call it financial aid. It could be colleges. It could be medical care. Medical care has not gone, or the cost of it has not gone down. Financial aid by the government. Whenever the government infuses itself or money into whatever market, prices go up. That's number one. Number two, when the government decides or is able to decide who to distribute the taxpayers' money to, they have the control. When you keep more of your money, like Trump is saying, you get to control and decide where you want to spend it.
Yeah, you're right. And we saw, this is why we have this inflation that we have now. You know, after the scandemic that they caused, you know, after that went away, then they started handing out these checks and putting out these $1 trillion spending bills in Congress. And what it did was it caused inflation and slowed us down from recovery.
Exactly.
And so this is why we're in this. This is why now it costs like $9 for a carton of eggs.
Look, I'll give you two other examples. The war on poverty. When the government puts its money and efforts in things, they don't get better. The poverty has still increased exponentially. You talk about the war on, I'm going to call it the war on health or fat. Talk about the FDA. The government infused itself. When we have people fatter than that, more times than ever in American history. Young people, not even just adults, but young people. So almost, I want to say 100% everything, but I'll say 99% to leave that 1% for God. But 99% of the time, when the government infuses itself or people allow the government, want the government, things don't get better.
No, and you're right. And we see it right here actually in our local city government. You have city government in the pocket of many of these developers, many of what they so-called redevelopment projects within the city. They infuse these developers with all this money. They get huge tax breaks to do this development within the city. Tax breaks that if I wanted to buy a house in the city, I won't get anything nowhere near it. And this is what she's actually talking about, but she's talking about it on the federal level. So again, they wind up lining the pockets of these large developers. Now, they may, in fact, buy homes or buy property within these states. And they wind up usually turning them into renters. And again, it fuels the renter nation that the Democrats eventually want us going down. Right. They don't want us to own homes. They want a rental nation.
It's a more expensive Section 8.
Yeah. Look at this. And I want to get your thoughts on this, Shelley.
Your two major issues. Right at the forefront of voters' minds in Philadelphia as well, where crime is a significant issue. When we talk about crime, the conversation turns to gun safety as well. And I think you actually probably caught a lot of people off guard, maybe a bit by surprise in the debate the other night when you mentioned that you are a gun owner. I know you said it in 2019 as well. I want to talk about your values on this issue. When it comes to gun ownership, where do you draw the line in America on gun ownership and gun use?
Well, like you said, Brian, I am a gun owner, and Tim Walz, my running mate, is also a gun owner. We're not taking anybody's guns away. I support the Second Amendment, and I support reasonable gun safety laws. Part of my approach to this is I was a career prosecutor for most of my career. I have personally prosecuted homicide cases. I have personally looked at autopsies. I have personally seen what assault weapons do to the human body. And so I feel very strongly that it is consistent with the Second Amendment and your right to own a gun to also say we need.
So I want to stop it right here for just a moment. She's clearly lying. So we know that most violence done in cities like Los Angeles, Baltimore here, are handguns. Is that correct, Shelley?
So wait a minute, say that one more time, Kate. I want to make sure I understood you.
Because she was saying that she was a prosecutor, and as a prosecutor, she's seen what gun violence looks like. She's had to look at autopsies and things like this. Most of gun violence in America are handguns.
Yes.
They're handguns.
Yes, that's true.
That's not what she's talking about here.
No, what she's talking universal background. They play on these words, okay?
Well, I want to get to that point. I just want to make that distinction here. Now she's talking. Now I want to get to what you're talking about here. Here she is.
Assault weapons ban. They're literally tools of war. They were literally designed to kill a lot of human beings quickly. I say we need universal background checks. The majority of NRA members support that. Why? Because it's just reasonable. You just might want to know before someone can buy a lethal weapon if they've been found by a court to be a danger to themselves.
So can you respond to that portion of it, Shelley?
Okay, so she's mixing a lot of things here. Number one, usually when they say universal background checks, what they mean, they want you to be able to not buy guns at a gun store, a gun show, something like that. But wherever you buy a legal firearm in the United States, you have to get it from a legal firearm dealer or license, someone who has a license to sell those particular firearms or firearms in general. That's number one. Whenever you do that, you are getting a background check. Criminals don't go into firearm dealers, FFLs, and then try to buy a legal gun. That's not what criminals do. There is no background check for a criminal to buy an illegal gun. So they like to mix these things in because they are stoking fear and lies, and they're using people's emotions, trying to stir them up. In Maryland in particular, and other states may vary, but in Maryland, long guns, what they keep talking about, they use the word assault style weapons or whatever.
Yeah.
Long guns. When you purchase a long gun in Maryland, you still have to go legally. I'm talking about legally. You still have to go to a licensed firearms dealer. You still have to present your ID. They still run a background check. You still pay for the exchange or whatever. So your information is still on file. They are lying. They are lying. Criminals don't follow these laws. And you're right. Most of the crimes are committed with handguns, right? Whether they're stolen, whether they are straw purchases. Maybe someone purchased a firearm and gave it to someone who should not have had it. So it could be that. But criminals, by and large, are not following the rules.
Right. And this is what the crazy part about it is. She talks about she was a prosecutor. We know these social justice prosecutors try every way they know how not to prosecute the criminals.
Exactly.
So that is what we need. We need them to adhere to the laws. Just follow the laws that are on the books. Enforce the laws that we have on the books. Enforce the laws at the border. Protect our border. Enforce the laws in these cities and support the police officers and things like that. They don't want to do that. So that's why we have this crime, these people, rampant crime in here, and this gun violence. And again, you talk about the youth violence. We have youth violence. They don't want to enforce the laws against the youth violence as well.
And just like people are trafficking people to come across the border illegally, criminal adults will hijack, if you will, and use juveniles to commit crimes because the juveniles are not going to be prosecuted in many cases at the adult level.
Absolutely. So again, it all goes back to enforce the laws that we have on the books. Just like Trump told her in that debate last week or this week, they have the tools needed right now to close that border down. And they refuse to do it. And so she sits in these interviews coming up with all these excuses, made up laws, made up policies that are already on the books that they're just not enforcing. And so instead of doing that, she wants to make a new law
Right.
to take away our gun.
It is not because background checks are not happening that people are getting away with these firearms and then using them to shoot and murder people. That is not the reason why. Most of these mass shooters, if you will, and even the non-mass shooters, but people who are still murdering and causing non-fatal shootings, most of these people are already known by the criminal justice system.
Oh yeah. It's just a way, again, they want to create a new law. So they're starting right. If this gets passed, she'll start with the whatever assault weapons. Then it goes down to, some other type of gun. Then it goes down to knives. Until we like Australia. We'll be like Australia. This is where they want to go, people. This is where they want to go. And so if they are able to get control of Congress, and if Kamala Harris and her goofy running mate get into office, we are on the track to be like Australia.
Yep.
I
can't believe he didn't challenge her again to bring up the clip when she said she wanted to do the mandatory buyback.
What would you do about the millions of specifically assault weapons that are already in circulation? What do you do about those?
Well, there are approximately 5 million, to your point, Craig. We have to have a buyback program, and I support a mandatory buyback program. It's got to be smart. We got to do it the right way.
Do you believe in the mandatory buyback of quote-unquote assault weapons? And whether or not you do, how does that idea not go against fundamentally the Second Amendment?
Yeah, great question. I do believe that we need to do buybacks, and I'll tell you why. First of all, let's be clear about what assault weapons are. They have been designed to kill a lot of human beings quickly. They are weapons of war with no place on the streets of a civil society. I've seen assault weapons kill babies and police officers. So, one, I'll tell you, when elected president, if the United States Congress continues to fail to have the courage to do something about this, I'm prepared to take executive action and put in place a ban on the importation of assault weapons into our country. But we still have to deal with the over 2 million assault weapons that are currently in the streets of America. And so a buyback program is a good idea. Again, conflating things. How about not having criminals, which some Democrats are advocating for, that if you've served your time, then why shouldn't you be able to buy a gun again? They just lie and they conflate and they use a lot of fear tactics. And unfortunately, it works in a lot of cases with them.
Yeah, it certainly does.